not going to believe this. In this video, I am breaking down how boring Pokemon strategies literally built
this world's finalist.
A world's finalist, but also a previous world champion, international champion, and 5-time regional champion, Mr. James Evans. What's going on? You finished second at Worlds. What's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about what makes me such a strong player and how I usually do it.
Yeah, literally, as of right now, in the entire world, from America to Italy to Japan, we have the second best player in the world live on this channel, giving you guys what I think is going to be the most insanely valuable advice. What do you think?
I would hope so. I mean, it's gotten me this far, so.
Yeah, and we have it, guys, on our good old whiteboard. Right, James? We have the whiteboard right here. Boring Pokemon equals wins. And the first thing we're going to go over is things that are easy to copy all the way up until things that are hard to swallow truths. And you have one of those that really hit me heavy when you were talking about it. It really is true.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. What is the easiest thing that people can copy right now that might be boring but will lead to wins?
I mean, stealing teams is probably the easiest. Stealing ideas in general. I think Pokemon is a game that I would say, obviously starting out, a lot of people tell you to just take teams that are very popular.
Yeah.
Teams that have already proven what they do like very well. And that's what I did when I was starting out as a kid. I just took I think I literally took the first team that Aaron Zing used on Road to Ranked. It was just a Lilycole, like a Rangaroo, hard Trick Room spam team.
Yeah.
And like it blew my mind. I was like, this is so easy to use.
Yeah.
And then I started playing things that kind of beat it very easily.
Okay.
And the first thing I kind of realized was that you can find a team that's really good. You can also find a core that's really good though. And sometimes the Pokemon on the initial team may not jive with you.
Yeah.
Something I've always done growing up is I take kind of inspiration from ideas and good teams, take that kind of fundamental idea that I want out of it, and then translate it into something that I'm much more comfortable playing. Even if it doesn't exactly work out at first, I try to tend to go with something a little more like in my favor that my gut trusts, like Pokemon that I find reliable, kind of archetypes that I find reliable, things that, you know, usually just give me more control that I feel very comfortable with.
So like someone playing the game right now, right? We're calling this something that's easy to copy. If you were someone who just started playing, let's say this past year, what does that look, what does this thing that they can do look like for them?
I would say like it definitely just starts with like 1 to 2 Pokemon. I think
1 to 2 Pokemon. That's
exactly.
Okay.
I would say generally I find that an idea or just any combination of Pokemon in general. Obviously, a core is a very easy thing to build around Fire, Water, Grass.
Yeah.
People will show you that all the time. People will tell you to start with something like that all the time. I think even then, it doesn't really necessarily have to be a core of Pokemon that like make the foundation.
That's supposed to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the first thing I would say, it's easier in something like a restricted format that we just had, where
of course
things are outlined a little more easily. I know that this team that I actually used at the Pokemon World Championships this year was based, funnily enough, off a team I ran last GS Cup 3 years ago.
So let's talk about that, because I have it written down on the whiteboard that the one way to find core is from inspiration in the past. So you've played this game for a while now, and it doesn't have to be 3 years ago. It could be 3 months ago.
Exactly.
But finding what worked in the past can help you with what works right now. So what do you mean? Like, tell me more about this team from 2022 that led you to picking your team right now that made you finish second, bro. Like that's crazy how that can affect now.
Exactly. What is it? The team that I ran this year was very heavily inspired by the team I got first with at the North American International Championships, and the kind of build that was based on
was first. First, guys.
First.
Out of how many players? Like 1,000 players?
It's like 350, but I would say you could see my day two. Most stacked thing I've ever had to play in my entire life. That schedule was absurd.
Came out on top, light flex, a little bit.
But the team there was very heavily inspired around this idea of Calyrex and Groudon, which was initially inspired by a team that had Zacian and Groudon, and it was built around Rinmeasun.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, Rinmeasun was the most standard core in Generation 8.
It was the team.
It was the team to beat by far. And, you know, seeing a player like Chongjun Pang win the Salt Lake Regional Championships with a team that was basically Rinya Sun, built to be Rinya Sun.
Yep.
The idea then became like, let's build Rinya Sun that beats Rinya Sun that's meant to be Rinya Sun.
Okay, yeah.
And then that kind of evolved into this idea of Calyrex and Groudon, very strong duo of Pokemon.
Okay.
And then it kind of just evolved from there. I actually had some very, very aggressive, very offensive.
Yeah.
Eventually kind of had to trim the offensive layers down to something more defensive, more controlled, more restrained.
Yeah.
That let me pivot around, get more freedom. And then from there, that version of the team started to take off really well. I ended up top cutting a regional with it, won NAIC with it.
Wow.
39th in Pokemon World Championships.
It's only top 30, only 39th. Like, I was like 339th this past one. I was like,
but the team had a ton of things that it taught me. Just fundamentally about playing the game, how to slow things down, how to just kind of have more control over the board, and more importantly, just how to see the end games that I wasn't necessarily seeing by playing so offensively.
Yeah.
Fast forward to Generation 9, I already have a regional win under my belt this year, 2 regional finalists, and Internet's top cut. But I would say things aren't still like clicking per se at the beginning of Regulation I.
okay.
So the first thing I actually wanted to do was go back to another build that I had already previously used.
So let's double click on that for a second. So you've had an amazing moment, and again, that's subjective. For some people, that could be winning a limitless tournament online,
Exactly.
or getting to 1300s on Pokemon Showdown, or shit, making their own top cut or something like that, right? For you, you had this insane peak with this one strategy, and now what it sounds like is that you're going through this like patch of like, it's hard. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it happened the exact same way. When I was playing, all before, I actually quit the game for like a year, because I wanted to build a business. Fast forward, it was the biggest mistake I made. I missed playing this game so much. But before I quit, I would always like playing with Rain and with Grimmsnarl, right? And my only day 2s were with that strategy.
Yeah.
After I came back, I thought of exactly what you were saying. If I'm going to come back and I'm feeling this level of like, I'm struggling, let me go back to my tried and true. For me, it worked. So how did that work for you? If it worked at all, I'm curious.
I would say I actually really had a rough time at the start of this circuit, like this circuit year, 2025. All the events in 2024 that we played for this season with Regulation H didn't really like find what I was like good with. Like I couldn't really click with anything.
Okay.
And then we fast forward to, I would say, funnily enough, this team also starts with Regulation G, because the first thing I immediately did was I was like, all right, let's go back to Calyrex. I know how to play Calyrex really well.
Yep.
And that changed my perspective. Then I was like, all right, just keep using what you're good with, what you enjoy. Because I like clicking Astro Barrage. I like winning the game very quickly.
I like pressing. We're opposites. He likes playing very fast. I'm like, I'll tell you,
Thunder Wave.
Wide screen, Thunder Wave, a little confusion here, Hurricane, Muddy Water Drop. You're over here like, I'm gonna click attack button.
But obviously those ideas, like, again, not even exactly in a format that I had like a ton of success with, but I was able to find my footing once again, and then that translated back over to Regulation I, where now we have double restricted. I already have this background in GS Cup, which is, pretty good resume so far, all things considered. But the first thing I immediately knew was like, all right, how can I take a team that I was so good with, fundamentals that I was so good with, that even proved tried and true in the last format we literally just played, that was a single restricted format, where you literally have to subtract the restricted, so there's less options for you to build around combination-wise. How can we reinvent that in Regulation I? And the idea was literally just to take as many pieces from the original team as possible and update them with a fresh coat of paint.
So you looked at 2 old things. You looked at Regulation G and your 2022 team. And you said, these 2 things work for me. How can I take those concepts and apply it here? So what were those concepts that you took and applied to finish second? Guys, second at Worlds. Walk me through that in like a very easy to follow process. Some of these people might say, how can I do the same thing?
I mean, definitely the biggest one I think of them all was slow the game down. I think trying to feel like giving myself more breathing room as a player definitely helps. For reference, this team was, I would say, keep saying it was based off a lot of things, but this team, more than anything, was built off a team that I already used the entire regulation, which featured a lot of these core ideas, but it featured a Weezing, for instance, and a Chi-Yu. 2 Pokemon that kind of play very differently than each other, but their main goals are generally very one note, and to do things as fast as possible, either be annoying as fast as possible, spread poison around, turn off abilities, and have your opponent and your teammates sweep, or Chi-Yu just says, I'm going to sweep myself. Do as much damage as humanly possible. Those things do not really give you good balance. I would say Weezing is very tough to pivot around because you have to sacrifice a lot of defensive tools to make sure Weezing is ensuring that it is the only defensive mon on the board. Chi-Yu just doesn't want to switch. It can't switch
It
out.
doesn't want to. It doesn't want to switch in or out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it made the team very rigid and very difficult to try and innovate on, per se. Something like Instant is a lot easier when it has parting shot, it's got fake out.
It's a lot more flexible.
Exactly. Obviously, that's like the biggest thing for sure. Intimidate just helps the team a lot more. And by removing something like Wheezing, you allow more item slots on something like Karada, for instance, where you originally had to have ability shield to play into that strategy. Now you can just run Theory Amulet, which is a lot more consistent. Means that the game isn't necessarily being halted like on a dead stop because you got a speed drop or something.
And Incineroar was on your first team, as we were saying.
Exactly.
In 2022, you changed things around, like you changed the Fire Dark type, but you changed it to something that you've already succeeded with in the past, which I think probably is a key theme.
No, it was super helpful. And funnily enough, like I mentioned before, that team also had to go through iterations as well.
Okay.
And one of the things I learned there was, again, slowing the game down. It was originally a very aggressive team with like Whimsicott and Charizard, where you would just
overload Wildfire in the
Exactly. I was saying, it's a similar idea. Like you, overload the opponent as fast as possible. Don't stop. Damage.
That's the Charizard, guys. That's 2022 Charizard.
Such a broken Pokemon.
Dude.
I was say, but then again, same philosophy. Learning how to slow the game down was very vital to helping that team succeed. And then the other thing was, namely, like you're gonna have to take chances with other Pokemon in the builder. One of the hardest things I had to accept initially when building that initial team was you're gonna have to change things around. You can't be comfortable with it forever. And that's where something like Landorus came in. Landorus wasn't exactly the Pokemon that I wanted to love.
It was never there.
Exactly.
Guys, fun fact, I actually have a vlog older on the channel. I played at a local in Philly.
Exactly.
And James kicked my ass in Swiss. And I'm proud to say I beat him in finals. Again, he is a second place world's player. But my point is that a lot of you might say, well, I can't beat someone as good as James, or I can't be whatever. Guys, if I can beat James, you can beat me, you can beat James. But James can beat anyone because he's using these strategies that worked for him. Like, if I'm you right now, I'm like taking notes down because you have to literally look back at these old teams because you might be lost. Right now, Regulation H just started.
Exactly.
Everyone, like, even myself, I'm like, oh my God, like, where do I start? What do I think? What do I do? I look to the past to find my future, and that's what you did.
Yeah, it's a huge help.
And like, not even just by Pokemon. Like you said, thematically, both of your version A's of the 2022 team and your 2025 team, hyper offensive.
Exactly.
Aggressive. Charizard, Chi-Yu. And you literally made the same changes the exact same way when it mattered most to going more defensive. Incineroar, all these different things. I think it's really unique. I think it's really cool.
Thank you. And it's just a huge help in general. Sometimes you literally have to relive the experience in order to figure out what am I doing wrong in. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I think as I've gotten older, the way I play Pokemon has changed. My perspective and like what I like using has changed. I would say, funnily enough, this is the first team I've used Incineroar since that team.
Wow.
So like, yeah, I would say I'm a very offensive player at heart. I love clicking buttons. I love Golden Go. I loved things like King Gambit, where you just like sort of stands up, sucker punch. But I would say deep down, I still got those roots where I love pivoting, I love parting shots.
I like playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. I would say I have no qualms with changing how I gotta play if it means improving myself. And that's something I'm always willing to do. I would say willing, especially when you're building teams, trying to improve on them. You gotta improve yourself in order to improve.
100%. So basically, what we've learned, the easy thing to do is think about cores. So don't like build a whole team. Don't find the super six you're looking for, but think of a core you like. So you said 1 to 2. Let's break that down. So 1 to 2?
1 to 2 to 3 Pokemon, I would say.
So Regulation H. Give me an example right now. People can use a Regulation H.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I would say even something like as simple as like Marco Silva's team with like Jump Off and Charizard. That's a 2-mon combo that relatively defines the entire team of Pokemon. Granted, like you were like, all right, well, Sun's needed, so we add Torkoal to that. There's 3 Pokemon right there. I would say you have Chlorophyll, Tailwind, Sunny Day. The way Torkoal plays with the Jetpack and Overheat, that can invite itself into other things like Trick Room. But you just have a generally very, very focused trio of Pokemon where Torkoal and Charizard can do massive fire damage. Jumpluff and Charizard have ground immunities.
It's like Pelipper, Archaludon, and Basculin.
Yeah, that's incredibly simple as well.
Same one. And I think it's so fascinating. If you guys are watching this right now and you have these ideas in your head, the best ideas come to you when you're in the shower, when you're on a walk, when you're at work and you're bored. Like, you literally will have these thoughts where you're like, bro, you're like, okay, give me your example. You gonna say something?
I would say I literally made this team at college during the middle of classes.
Yeah, that is literally what happens. When I first started playing, I was a sophomore in college, and I was like in this boring lecture hall, and I'm bored out of my mind. PokemonShowdown.com. I'm like, what if Grimmsnarl, Thunderwave, and like a Steel type, Steel Dragon, okay, or Caledon, okay, or like my first ever regional, I brought Dialga. I know it's crazy.
What format?
It was for the Salt Lake. That was my first.
Oh my
ever
god,
regional.
for real? All right,
I brought
nice.
Grimmsnarl, and my thought process was like Fairy, Steel Dragon, Screens, Dialga, the Dynamax will get my Leech. It was a bad team, guys. I'm not saying this is good. My point is that you have these thoughts, and those are the thoughts that you should put fuel into that fire. Like, you don't know it's a bad idea until you try it.
Exactly.
And exactly what you were saying. Like right now, if you have a thought of a team in your head, like Electabuzz, Ursaluna, Kingambit, that's a core right there. Figure it out. Or Electabuzz can get it by itself.
Exactly. That's a duo of two Pokemon that are already fundamentally solid, and you can add on to it in a ton of different ways. And that's the name of the game is experimenting, because some of them don't work out. Some of them help you understand where it needs to go next. Even if it's not exactly the thing that you bring to the event. It's
progress.
Exactly.
Progress is not a straight line. Left, right, up, backwards, back, forward. And the cool thing about it is that James even said on the board here is that you have to look to your past to go to your future. So if you played in the past, if you played a month ago, a week ago, a year ago, different formats, what worked for you then that could work for you now? And I think it's pretty easy to follow, because if I'm you right now, I'm thinking of an idea. Okay, well now I have an idea. What worked for me in the past? Add that to the idea and innovate and keep playing. Yeah, so the next thing is getting to the medium difficulty. So now we're at medium. And this one is where you really talked about how important it is to get different perspectives. So that's pretty broad, right? What does having different perspectives mean? And how did it grow you to finishing, I keep saying it, but dude, it's crazy, second in the world at Pokemon Championships? How did you do that? What does that mean?
So it's a very broad thing, and I think it's always a little difficult to kind of pin down, because sometimes it doesn't always exactly work out as intended, and sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to get to it.
Okay.
Different perspectives for me always is how other people view the team, how other people, if they were in your shoes, how would they be playing it, or how do they see the issues?
And you value that.
I value it a ton. I think having other people that tell you what the flaws are, what the strengths are, because everyone is a different player, and everyone has different advice and values that I think help shift or shape how they play the game.
Okay, definitely. I've seen people where I have a group called the Day 2 Collective. So it's 15 players that I do a community coaching group, a small group of players that were focused on getting better for a month. And one of them, they're both two guys from Germany, Mates and Faber, two guys from Germany, right? And one of them got to winning in last year, beat Davide Miraglia, got to the winning in, lost a tough matchup. But right now he's playing with this P2 Ursaluna team. Mm-hmm. And, he and his friend Faber joined together, they're friends. And he said, Darsh, I'm always listening to rain teams that have Ensign. Faber unmuted off of our coaching call and said, Mates, that is the team that I always beat. And they're playing the same team. And we discovered that so my point is, what you're saying is so true.
Yeah.
Because the same team in two different pilots' hands is a different team.
It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
I think I would say, and a really great example is that for this tournament specifically, it wasn't even me that reached out to someone. It was someone else that reached out to me. Gabriel Agati, one of the best players of all time.
Wait, Gabriel Agati, the Brazilian player who finished, you beat him in finals in LAIC, and then he also just top 8 in NAIC.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
So so now you have a perspective of a completely different player. What was that like? What was that experience like?
I would say, first of all, shout out to Agati and Mal Harada. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys a ton. Mal Harada, top 8 at Worlds.
Wait, so we had you talking with Gabriel Agati and Mal Harada, who also finished top 8. God damn.
Yeah, it was quite a stacked group chat.
That's pretty awesome.
But Agati reached out to me because we ran very similar duos, restricted duo. We both ran CSR Koraidon, but he ran a lot of different Pokemon next to it at NAIC. Okay. We actually ended up playing at NAIC as well this year.
Yeah.
Where I would say I took the win, but he got much farther than me. So,
okay. He sacrificed.
Yeah. But I think, he texted me, he was like, yo, are you still on CSR Koraidon for Worlds? I would love to discuss it with you. That was a huge help to me because I didn't know really where to go with the comp for Worlds. I was struggling a lot trying to figure out what new avenue to take.
Yeah, you're like, I'm done with wheezing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But having that different perspective, both of their perspectives, was super valuable because they focused a lot on something like a offensive Shadow Rider with Life Orb, or having redirection in Clefairy, or having terrain control in Rillaboom. And one of the things that they actually, were heavily discussing was Incineroar, which was something that wasn't really on my, docket initially.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned I did end up bringing it, and it was one of those things that helped me learn how to slow down the game a lot more. I don't think I would have came to the realization nearly as fast or even in time if it wasn't for their perspective, because they were like, there needs to be something to slow down the board a lot more. There needs to be something that can stop Calyrex Ice Rider in its tracks, just stop everything in general. And we were trying to figure out a way to incorporate a lot more defensive stuff onto the build, because we all had agreed, and this was something that also helped, is not only what they have on their own, that they can tell you, but also something that you can all agree on. We all agreed that this is a very inherently risky duo. If you're not playing CSR with Zamazenta, you're playing with Cryon, another fighting type. This one's a lot more aggressive. It's going to set up the Sun. It doesn't have Wide Guard. It doesn't have that amazing defensive type. It doesn't have Dauntless Shield. You got to play it a lot more risky to start. So finding a way to minimize the risk with something like Incineroar, something like Rillaboom, something like Screamtail, something like Clefairy, which Agati and Mal were all over. They were super confident.
And wait, I'm thinking about your team right now. You had no Incineroar, you had no Rillaboom, you had no Screamtail, and you had no Clefairy.
Yeah.
So then tell me how that concept led you to how to continue that. I'm curious.
So again, they were very I would say they had a very strong positioning towards a lot of these more defensive Pokemon that could help us matches. Sash Flutterman was another big thing where I would say that ended up actually winning the World Championships with a Koraidon. But for some reason, I couldn't see the vision with it. I could understand why people would run it.
Okay.
But for some reason, it just wasn't clicking with me. And Mao ended up running that, and again, he got top 8 of the World Championships with it. But it just wasn't something that fundamentally I couldn't build or I couldn't run.
Okay, yeah.
I could understand where they were coming from, and I needed to figure out now, okay, if I can't run this, if I don't want to run it because I like Sash CSR too much, which was another thing, again, they were very big on Life Orb CSR, Spooky Plate CSR, something that can push the offense a little more.
Yeah.
But my reasoning for Sash CSR was because I didn't want to have to waste my Terra on one of my 2 restricted.
So they were Terra Dark with Spooky Plate or Terra Normal?
I would say Mal was Terra Dark, I believe, with Life Orb. I don't remember exactly what Agati was. I know at NAIC he was Spooky Plate with Terra Normal.
That's what I remember too, yeah.
Which was a very interesting set, and it was one I actually really dug for a while. I thought, Terra Normal is a really strong option. And then I realized very quickly into my practice with it, I really didn't like having to fight between the Terra between Calyrex and Koraidon. I would much rather prefer if Calyrex just had a Focus Sash, so it's more reliable, takes the hit every time. There's no risk, no fear of something getting knocked out way before it's needed. And worst case, I can always throw the Sash out, still have 1 HP left on my Calyrex, and then play around that.
Yeah, 100%.
And that was just something fundamentally I just knew that I couldn't really shake.
Yeah.
But again, having that different perspective, understanding again why the other teams are the way they are, that helps a lot more just kind of figure out what I need to instill in different ways. So for instance, again, a big thing for us all was redirection, having redirection that is good at supporting the party.
All of you had it. I'm pretty sure Mal had Clefairy.
Yeah.
And Gabriel had
Wellspring, I think. At NAIC at least.
Okay.
I apologize, Gabriel. I don't remember your world's team right now. It's not coming to the top of my head. But we all had redirection in some way, shape, or form. And for Mal, it was Clefairy. He was very, very big on Clefairy. He really liked it. And I could definitely see the strengths of it.
Yeah.
Tried it out. I did not like how passive it was, but I very much valued that.
He had Grimmsnarl and Clefairy on that team, right?
No, but I actually did play that in top 16.
Who had Mal didn't have Grimmsnarl on his team?
No.
Okay.
I think it was Rillaboom, Incin, Fluttermane, Clefairy.
Got it. Okay, got it.
But what is it? His Clefairy idea was really smart because it was one of the more bulky redirectors in a way that
really bulky.
It's very bulky compared to a lot of the other things in the format. So I kind of gravitated towards that. But going off what I knew, I was like, all right, Brute Bonnet's a redirector that is very bulky under the sun, and it benefits from Koraidon already being on there. With Clefairy, you can kind of opt for CSR Zamazenta, and when I was mentioning that team that I played in top 16, it actually was a CSR Zama team with Clefairy, Grimmsnarl, Rillaboom, Incin.
Wow.
So it was very protect the president. But Bonnet's a little more in the middle, where it's got those amazing defenses. I think it's actually the best redirector, especially under Sun in this format. And I mean, me and Gio kind of proved it. Both made it to finals. But it's so bulky, but it also has really good offense. For how little it is, Sucker Punch and C-Bomb, very crucial to helping out with other Calyrexes. But with something like Covert Cloak, you don't have to worry about Fake Out. You don't have to worry about anything really harming Bonnet that would kind of
with the Terra Water, I cannot think of a single thing that just OKOs it.
No.
Other than like maybe Specs, Miraidon, Draco. That's like the only thing I can think of that kills it.
Probably. I would say I don't
But
remember
nothing
that.
else, but
Yeah,
nothing
exactly.
else.
But it was just overall very consistent, and that was one of those things I knew immediately when I was, when we were all discussing different variants of the team. I was like, no matter what, I am locking CSR, Bonnet, and Koraidon. Those are the three that I guaranteed.
That was your core.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I figured I was like 2 offensive pieces,
Yeah.
2 that are very fast and strong, 2 that benefit from the sun,
Okay.
and then 2 that are actually fake out immunities.
So then what was the last? So everyone that you've been mentioning has had 2 defensive pieces.
Yeah.
You mentioned 1. What was the next one?
So the last one that like officially rounded out the 4 that I was running was Raging Bolt. Because
Raging Bolt,
was
okay.
the perfect middle ground between offense and defense.
Yeah.
With the Soul Vest, it just really doesn't get knocked out. And again, those were one of those things that Agati and Mal were talking about heavily was Life Orb Bolt. Actually, even my roommates at the event were talking about Life Orb Bolt.
Yeah.
They were like, run Life Orb Bolt. I couldn't jive with it. I understood why people ran it. I would say I practiced it at the beginning of the format, saw how much damage it did. I think I knocked out like a Miraidon with like Terra Electric Thunderclap and some with Beads of Ruin. I was
Holy
like,
shit.
Like it Terra the Fairy, and I got the call right. I was like, oh my god, like, you can do that. Like, but it was just one of those things that the further the format went on, I understood it more and more. I understood the threat that it posed to my team specifically as well. But I just couldn't get behind how frail it was. You risked too much. You compromised too much.
I love Assault Vest Raging Bolt, and it's not really, and it's not even common right now, which is why I think it's true. You're the only one I think running Assault Vest Raging
I think so
Bolt.
too.
And then when I made day 2, my Charlotte regionals a couple years ago, I had Assault Vest Raging Bolt, and that thing just sits there.
It does not die.
It does not die.
It is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, that was one of those things where I had to trust my gut a little more. I understood why people were running it. I understood like how to kind of deal with it because I had a Soul Vest Raging Bolt.
Yeah.
And again, having other players that were very adamant or like looking into it more and experimenting with it. Because keep in mind, I wasn't the only one practicing. Mal and Nagati were practicing too, and I think they put in a lot more hours than I did, and I commend them for that because again, I don't think I would have gone nearly as far without their research and advice and again their perspectives on it.
Yeah.
But I just knew by the end of the labbing that we had all done, it just wasn't for me, and I knew I have enough experience with this Raging Bolt, Soul Vest Raging Bolt, and the prior experiences I've had with this team with the Wheezing variant. But there was something that they did teach me, Terra Electric is very broken.
Yeah.
That was the perfect shift that I needed for that Bolt to not only be good defensively, but good
Had that
offensively.
offensive boost.
Just hits everything like a truck.
Did you switch that from something else? Like what did that look like?
It was initially Terra Fairy. And
Okay,
I made my case to Agati and Mal. I was like, I really like Terra Fairy into CSR and Zamazenta. It's very consistent. You have a nice immunity in the Dragon from Miraidon. And then the more I played of it, the more I realized it kind of causes more mind games than just being Terra Electric. Because if you're Terra Electric, you tank a Draco Meteor from Miraidon, and you get the special attack drop.
And the CSR Zama, you still live the body press.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things where the more I played with it, I started to understand their reasoning for it more and more. And I eventually switched, and I actually had a middle ground of both options. I had the Terra Electric from the Life Orb Raging Bolt that so many people use, and that I was given really good advice on and good perspective on.
Yeah.
I just couldn't, feel it out. I was like, this isn't exactly for me.
Yeah.
And then I took it to a set that I actually really, was familiar with. I had tons of games with, and it worked perfectly. It was the perfect adaptation I needed to really get far. And it helped in one of those matchups where, again, having an extra perspective helped, and I can't thank him enough. Aaron Trailer was one of those people I had a lot of prep games with, and especially against those Miraidon comps that I did not want to see during the event.
Yeah.
And his advice helped a ton because he was looking at my team, and he's a very good Miraidon player. He played Miraidon Lunala at this year's Worlds.
Okay.
And he helped me a ton with that matchup, but he gave me advice on where my weaknesses, my flaws were in my game plan, and he was like, I was very scared that you were going to do this, or I was kind of expecting you to do this, and it seems really tough for you to capitalize on it in the moment unless I do this and this.
Okay.
And that helped me kind of laser in on exactly what I need to do. Not so much in practice, but in tournament.
Wow.
I didn't get the time to really pin it down before I had brought it to the tournament, but the night before I'm locking the box and I start to realize I'm like, okay, well I kind of don't really have a matchup. And then I thought about it more and I was like, okay, well you can just lead Instant and Raging Bolt and then fake out Volt Switch or fake out D-Pulse turn 1 into the Miraidon, because if you catch the Miraidon, it just gets knocked out. If it tears the fairy, then just Helping Hand Thunderclap the next turn, and now you're fine. But that was, again, one of those things that having that initial perspective from someone who was very, very good with the composition kind of taught me. And it wasn't even something that happened in the game. It was something that happened after it.
Yeah.
But just being able to get different advice from different kinds of players. And this doesn't, I think, it doesn't have to be a top player that tells you.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, all these people. I would say I have friends that I would say one of my best friends is a player that doesn't even play the game. He used to play top 8 in Worlds and Seniors, amazing player when he played. He just doesn't play the game anymore to that degree.
Yeah.
He still gives me amazing advice. He'll tell me like, what are you doing in this matchup? I can kind of understand like, how do you beat this matchup? How do you beat that matchup? And even being asked those questions, it's kind of like, I would say, it's like a lightning round. Like you have to pull out the flashcards and start explaining like, oh, this is what I do and this is what I do.
You have to actually take those ideas and put them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure that
out.
Like,
I would say sometimes you say it out loud and
you're like, oh shit, that's not
exactly. Like that doesn't sound smart actually. Let me redo that.
Yeah.
But that's a huge help even. Like just again, having a different set of eyes, look at your team, look at the game plans, discuss it with you. Again, even I would say I talk to my parents about matchups and they have no clue what I'm talking about.
You see someone to listen, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and I think like when I think about you guys watch this video at home, like what this means for you is find people that you can talk to the game about. Whether it's in your own local community, your local community, whether this is in an online group, whether it's like a creators Discord, whether it's through Twitter, whatever it is, find a group of people that are maybe in the same level or maybe just above or just below where you're at, because you guys can grow together. What I'll say is if you want to grow fast, you can go by yourself and just try to beeline for it, but it's going to be a lot of a bumpier ride, whereas if you grow with people, you will grow a lot longer, more sustainability, you will have friends to keep you in this game.
Exactly.
And what he's saying is so true. Like, I think about group again, the Day 2 Collective, where there's so many kinds of people that are all going to have different ideas, right? The reason I put this group together is that someone who likes to play a rain team now gets to practice and get that perspective, as you were saying, from a Sun player.
Yeah.
Someone who likes to use hyper offense, Sneasler, and DD stuff can now learn how to go play from me, who is a Grimmsnarl, slow it down, mouse hold, Goldango player. Having different perspectives allows you. The one thing I can tell you right now is like, my favorite question to ask anyone that I play, and I asked you this after we played, is what did you think about my team when you looked at it? I always ask that. You heard me ask you
I
that.
remember that actually.
Yeah, we were both getting our prizing at the front desk, and I was like, James, when you looked at my team, what did you like think? With you, like, what did you like think about? And you told me, I thought you would lead this and this. I was most scared of that and that. And that's so valuable because you will only ever have the perspectives of yourself and what you think they will think of you, right? I'll give you an example. If you watch sports, right? Let's say your favorite team is, mine is the Dallas Cowboys. Hot take, I know. But
Go Birds.
chill, bro. We play next week. You better be ready. We're gonna win. Nah, I wish. But my point of me saying this is, I know what it's like to be a fan of my team. I also know what it's like to watch another team like the Eagles play against my team. However, I don't know James's experience of watching my team play his team. I don't know if what he thinks that I'm gonna do, the fears that he has, the nerves he has, his beliefs of my tendencies. You only can predict what he will think about my team, right? So having someone to talk to about that, like in Pokemon, his Worlds team, right, and I'm my Worlds team, I can ask him what he thinks about my team because I don't genuinely know how he will lead against me. Like your story about the finals, playing versus Geo, you were saying you prepped and Geo prepped for two completely different things. Why? Because you had different perspectives. Like, explain that. I'm curious. Like, share that with them.
So, what is it? Geo, I would say, and I think this was a question a lot of people ask me from time to time. It's like, why didn't I bring Raging Bolt to the final set?
Okay.
And the first instinct was like, there is an Ursa Wind on the other side of the field. And I would say, there are so many things on Geo's team that can either shut it down, do a ton of damage, or just things that I can't really hit hard with Bolt. Really, its best thing that it has is Volt Switch, which is a really great tool in the matchup, but it requires that Bolt is sitting in on something that it really doesn't want to get hit by, or the partner Pokemon doesn't want to get hit by. Yeah. And then you just pivot out and then try to refigure out the situation from there. It doesn't really do anything as much as it kind of delays the inevitable.
Yeah.
Granted, Priority Thunderclaps and Sun are very strong, but you still got to get to it. And Geo did bring something that can accommodate that in Brute Bonnet, which is really tough to break through with the Citrus Berry.
Yeah. With Bolt especially. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of the time, when I was prepping and got the different perspectives from other people, shouts to Joe and Brady for helping me out with that matchup, or just everyone else.
VGC corner in Brady Smith.
Yeah.
And Joe UX9 for Joseph U.
Oh yeah, but I would say there was a lot of advice they gave me, different perspectives on it. Even again, Trailer, Malagati, they all helped me out with that, and they all had different ideas of how they were going to approach it. But generally, the idea that we all came to is we can't bring something that is going to compromise so much against something like, again, an issue Flutterly. Like, I don't know what Bolt does versus that. It doesn't do a whole lot.
It makes you burn your Terra too.
Exactly. Like I have to burn it on Crydon or Bolt, and it's just not a particularly amazing opener. It struggles a lot into things like Crydon and Fluttermane, where close combat is so strong, and Icy Wind, even a little bit of chip from that can knock out Bolt with close combat. Yeah. But it was just one of those things that like I didn't really see the perspective in. Gio the entire time, like I talked to him and his brother graduates, like we thought you were gonna bring Bolt all 3 games. Like,
see, different perspectives.
Problem. Yeah. And I was like, even with like that, we were like, yeah, we were still scared of it. But like again, I was scared of Ursaluna Lunala. Didn't even bring Lunala once. That would shocked me.
Yeah.
But I would imagine he was probably also equally confused by no Raging Bolt on the lead. Like I would say, my lead was not particularly something that I don't think even I was expecting. Like the night before, I was like Instant and Bonnet. That's a little bit, and then I started practicing. I was like, it works. Yeah. And I only came to that conclusion after like we had exhausted all other ideas. We were like, this doesn't really work, but it does. Yeah. So like, let's run it. Like I was saying, it worked out. I don't regret bringing it at all, and like I would say, even losing that set, I don't regret what I brought, and I think
which is commendable.
Yeah, it was the best possible option I figured for the entire set that would give me the most consistent odds of winning. And granted, could I have played a little better? Could I have done things that would have changed the outcome? Yes, but I also am not mad with my outcome because I know that it's a learning process.
Of course,
I would say it's not even so much about making mistakes as it is like. These are just things that happen, and I think that it's not necessarily about losing as it is much like. I put up a good fight. I played a good Pokemon, and in the end, my opponent played better than me, and I'm not gonna be mad about that.
Yeah, I think that's for one. Thank you for sharing that because I think so many people wanted to hear from you, like what is it like to have lost in the finals of a World Championships, but you didn't lose. You got to finals. You finished second out of hundreds of players, the best in the world, and I think like you saying that is so helpful for me from every stage where I was in because my very first couple regionals, I'd go like 3 and 5. And I'd be like, oh my God, this sucks, like losing, whatever. And then fast forward to now to where I played in my first ever top 8 match in Toronto against a great player, Chup Across, the defending champion at the time. In game 3, that was the first time where I truly was like, I felt the pressure of the moment. I'd never been in, I was like, wow. I made the same play as game 2, which was very telegraphed, and turn 1, like very bad play by me. There's really no positive side to that. And I was beating myself up about it for a long time. I was like, damn, this fucking sucks. Like, why would I do that? I'm really going to let that happen to me. Whatever. But then I realized, which we're going to get into is the hardest thing to swallow, is that those are the biggest learning moments if you allow those to be. Which is why I want to talk about the hardest pill to swallow that will get you real growth. And it might be a boring Pokemon concept, but you said it, and I 100% agree with you. And those guys to finals at Worlds and won you countless trophies and thousands of dollars, which is
you gotta lose to win.
Say that again.
Simple as that. You gotta lose to win.
You have to lose to win. That doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense. So break it down.
All right, I am happy to. So I would say I think the biggest fear that I think a lot of people have in Pokemon is losing. Obviously, it's one of 2 things that you do. At the end of every single game, you either win or you lose.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to win. That cannot happen because if there are 2 people playing a game, someone is bound to lose it.
Someone has to lose and someone has to win.
Exactly. And more often than not, obviously everyone wants to be the guy that wins the event. Everyone wants to be the person that takes the whole thing home.
Yeah.
I think as a player, I would say I've grown a lot over the last 8 years I've been playing the game. And at some point, I was mad that I was not winning everything. I was mad that I would lose things that I shouldn't have lost, either by luck or just not playing good enough to my standards. And even in practice, you lose things and you're just like, why did I do that? Play better, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Like, why did I not predict that?
Exactly. But one thing I've learned, and especially as someone whose practice regimen is awful most of the time, my prep for this year's Worlds was really bad.
Share how much you prepped for the World Championships.
Not a lot of prep games.
How many hours a week would you say?
Maybe like 4.
Guys, let's stop for a second. He practiced for 4 hours a week and made it to the freaking finals of the Pokemon World Championships. And James, I'm so glad you said that because my whole philosophy that I tell everyone is that less is not less than more. I'm not saying it's more, it's greater than more, but my point is that you don't need more than 10 hours a week to be the best player.
Yeah.
A lot of people like me, people are full-time students, have full-time jobs, have wives, have kids. Wherever you are in your life, you don't need to practice that long. Like myself, I have a full-time job. I make these videos now. I have to play this. I have a girlfriend. I have a family. And I'm trying to like move that. I have so much going on. And I was able to qualify for the Pokemon World Championships. Like, and I made this, I just made this for you guys to use because James got it in 4 hours a week. I qualified for Worlds for the first time in like 5 hours a week. And it's all possible. And I want to just show you, comment the word roadmap. I don't want to talk about it for too long, but I made an 11-page guide. I showed it to you too.
Yeah.
11-page guide walking you through how to qualify for Worlds in less than 10 hours a week, right? Well, comment what?
Roadmap?
Comment roadmap, bro. But continue because it's so true how like your practice was not holding you back at all.
Yeah. Like, I think I would say, and funnily enough, I was frustrated at some of the losses I took. I just never felt like the team really clicked in my prep.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I went into the tournament and I was like, oh, it's gonna suck.
It's gonna be a bad day.
It's gonna be a bad day. But one of the things that in that moment kind of clicked with me, and this happened a lot over the course of this whole season actually, across 2025, I would lock a team extremely last minute and I would kind of just be okay with it because I knew deep down, like, I have what it takes to play good Pokemon, just from playing for so long and seeing what I've seen and doing what I've done. But I'm not going to be mad if I wake up tomorrow and I go like 0-3 drop. Because I know at the end of the day, I locked what I felt the most comfortable with, that I was going to play the best with. And if I lose, I lose. That's as simple as that. And I knew, especially going into this World Championships, I knew, the prep wasn't amazing. I just didn't have enough time to do things because I had to do school and stuff like that.
You have life. You have a whole life to live.
I was looking for co-ops and stuff like that. It's tough.
Go to Drexel Dragon. That's where he goes to school.
Hell yeah. But what is it? Yeah, the thing was just like, I knew, I went to bed, I was just like, I texted my friend, I was like, box locked, so ready to go, like 2 or 3 drops tomorrow.
Let's run it.
But
I actually ran into you during check-in.
Oh my god, I remember.
And you're like, yo, Josh, I'm like, yo, what's up? And you were like, I'm like, how you feeling? You're like,
I'm good.
I'm good. We're just gonna see what happens. I look at my phone on like Saturday, I'm like, this guy's gonna be in the fucking finals. He told me he's here to vibe out, and he's in finals. So
it happens. Like, what is it? It was the same thing at UIC this year where I built the team at like 4:30 in the morning in a bathroom, by the way, because I didn't want to wake my friend up in the hotel. I was like, all right, guys, I appreciate everyone's help because there was a ton of my homies helping me out. Shouts to Jess and Gio, funnily enough. Gio helped me get that team in game. Shouts to Gio.
Shout out to Gio.
He's been there from the start.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I was just like, all right, time to bomb. And then I woke up, my 6-0, and I was just like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But literally, I think, and even with the losses that I took, I was like, excuse me, oh my goodness, this is so much stuff to go over.
I
appreciate
it.
Just in general, I knew like if I lose, I lose, and if I win, I win. And every match I went into, I wasn't expecting to win or lose, but I knew I was gonna just play my best,
give it your all.
Yeah, exactly. And I won the first game of the day, and I was like, oh, okay, that was not nearly as bad. Win the second game of the day, third game of the day, and then I get to James Beck, and if anyone knows my history with James Beck, one of my best friends in the world. I lose to this guy at every single tournament I play him at.
Really?
I was not expecting anything different.
Yeah.
But this time it was a lot less frustrating because usually I go in, I play Beck, and every time I'm like, oh, come on, dude. Like, I gotta play this guy every time.
Yeah.
We played 3 times this season.
Wow.
And I went to 7 events.
Wow, 3 out of 7. That's insane.
I was like, all right, dude, come on. But this time it was a little different, I feel like. I finished the set, and I lost, but this time it was more like... And Beck noticed it after the set, too. He just told me, he was like, dude, you played that really well.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, I actually do feel like I played that well. I wasn't mad. I wasn't bothered or anything. I knew it was going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Beck is an excellent player.
He always shows up for these. He's also a big game player.
Exactly. And it was just one of those things I knew going in, I'm not going to be mad if I lose this one. And I did lose this one. It was a tough matchup against a tough player, and I gave it my all. And he told me after the set, he was like, if you keep playing like that, you're going to cut, dude. And so I was like, I agree with you, actually. It was one of those weird things in the moment where I was like, I didn't really think about it
as a loss, as a painful loss.
Exactly. I was like, this is this was just a good moment. Like, it felt like a good learning moment.
Yeah.
Kept moving forward. I eventually lose to my friend Z Costagliola.
Oh, I played that person at NAIC. They were the round before my win in it. I beat them.
Okay, gotcha.
But it was a really cool match.
And Z's a great friend too. And that was the auto loss matchup where it was CIR Maridon with Scarf. It was one of those things, again, I knew just from how I was, again, kind of going into it, I was like, all right, well, if you run into this team, it's going to be an auto loss matchup. But, like, again, no expectations.
Yeah.
You run into them, you run into them. Gave it my all, got 2-0'd, and I wasn't mad about it at all. I was like, congrats to Z. I was super happy for Z because they made day 2.
Wow.
And I was like, well, one of us is going to make day 2 no matter what here.
Yep,
so no matter what. And I still got one left.
Yeah.
1 round left to make day 2. And I ended up winning that round. And, again, I was just really happy to have made it that far, to made a stand because historically, I haven't done very well at Masters Worlds before this.
Okay.
Besides also the Worlds that I won. This is a horrible thing. Like, yeah, you know, besides the 2 Worlds I did
I
very
have
well.
finals in guys, when I don't get into finals, I have bad tournaments. Shut up, bro. Keep that to yourself. No,
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
But
Worlds is McFree according to him.
I didn't say anything. But I would say it was just one of those things where I was just happy to have gotten that far. And I woke up for day 2, and I was very fortunate to have gotten a bye the first round because there was an odd number of players, and I was next to going in. And then my last round, I was like, all right, well, win or lose, I've probably locked top 32 at the World Championships. So obviously I'm going to play my best to try and get that top cut. But I know that if I lose this, I'm not particularly bothered because I'm walking away with this, even with a little more, little more than I walked in with. And it's one of those things that, like, I was just extremely grateful for, to begin with. I was like, to get this far, especially with how little prep I had, how little confidence I had, but so much, like, just faith in me from other people, the support of other people.
People make the game a completely different experience.
Exactly.
That's why I always tell everyone to, like, find their people because it transforms your experience 100%.
And, I have my whole group watching me from the sidelines, just rooting for me the entire weekend. I had friends from school rooting for me the entire weekend.
That's awesome.
It was just incredible. But I ended up winning that last round, and I literally remember the first thing I did was I got up from the thing, and I ran and hugged Aaron Trailer, and I was crying because I was like, I finally did it. I finally did it. I finally topped out the World Championships again.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those, it was one of the most cathartic things I've ever experienced. Because
Let's go, bro. Come on, man.
It was just one of those things where I was sitting there, I was like, out of all the times for it to happen, it was when I was least expecting it, with a team that I was not expecting to do well with. And it was probably arguably just during one of the most, like, I don't care moments ever. But it was the kind of mentality shift at the last moment where I was like, and even with all the losses, all the, like, things chalked up against me.
Yeah.
I just knew going in, I was just like, it's going to be a good time. And I got to cut, and I immediately did the same thing. I was like, if I lose, I'm out of the tournament, but this is already way more than I ever asked for.
And I think about, like, a lot of you watching at home, like, a lot of you might be going to, like, Pittsburgh, right, coming up. Or this whole season, you might want to go to your first World Championship. So you have goals, whatever your goals might be, right? James is basically what you're saying is that your highest highs a lot of the time will come from when you're at your low. Like, you do not expect this to happen.
Exactly.
And it happened. For me, again, I keep mentioning Toronto. I stopped playing. I came for vibes. I came to get sauce and have a good time. I make top 8, beat Wolf, my first ever stream match. My point of this to you is saying that, you know, whatever scale you're on, a lot of people go to your first regional and say, I want to get 1 win. Next thing you know, you've got 4 or 5. Maybe you'll say, I want to make day 2. Next thing you know, you're in a top cut. Whatever your goal is, and you might not be feeling your team is great, you might not be feeling like you've had the best practice, you never know what you're capable of.
Exactly.
And all the things that you've learned from losing and losing and losing, and what you're saying, you've lost here, you've lost again, you've lost. These losses feel like a lack of progress because you're like, I'm not confident because I keep losing.
Exactly.
I would argue those losses have been lessons for you to get better. So when the actual test comes up, like for you, Worlds, like for me, Toronto, like for you, your first regional. Next thing you know, you're now here and you're ready and you shock yourself with how well you perform.
Yeah, and I think it's just all how you view it. Because there are losses I've been very frustrated at in tournament. But when I shifted the view a little more, and like I would say, it is perspective, it's just looking through it through a different lens.
Yeah.
Being able to say, like, that loss wasn't nearly as bad. I know, like, at EUIC this year, I lost to Joseph Ugarte, Joe UX9.
Yeah.
Because we played, he was my first loss in day one. I went 6-0 and then lost to him in the, obviously, I think it was like, we were both locked for day 2, but obviously you want to go undefeated.
Yeah.
I lost to him there, and then we played in top 16 again, and I lost to him there. And
You went 3 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, after that, I felt good, funnily enough. I was a little sad I couldn't continue the thing. And I think I misplayed in that match. But it was one of those things that I kind of was just saying, I was like, I'm not mad at this at all because my friend made top 8.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I know what to do next time if I'm ever in a scenario like this.
Yeah.
But I'm also just really happy because regardless of whether or not I was like, I'm gonna win the whole tournament, or I'm gonna just suck and I'm gonna go 0-3 drop. I made a stand, and I got pretty dang far with it.
Yeah, you did.
Regardless of my expectations. And all I could do the entire weekend, I was just happy. I was so happy I had cut the largest Pokemon event ever. And like I was walking away with it. It was my first top cut of the season, funnily enough.
Let's go.
And I think it kind of just gave way to everything else. Like I think at Vancouver, I lost in top 16 to Gio, funnily enough again. I lost to Luca at top 16 in Milwaukee. And obviously the losses there, the losses at NIC, those helped end up building the team that I ended up bringing to the World Championships. I think regardless of whether or not, even if it's like the end goal or not, losses help you. They'll always help, even in practice, in tournament. I think a good way to view it is that I've always viewed how I play the game, the timeline of events, the events that I go to, especially, this is a little easier when the formats are longer.
Yeah.
But it's not so much to say that like, you should...
Skills don't compound and
exactly.
don't value things.
When I play the game, generally I bring teams that I'm comfortable with and I like to grow with, per se. I think a great example is I have discussed like the different perspectives, learning how to take the team cores, put those together.
Take that Sun Core and just keep growing,
evolving
forward.
Yeah. I think a great example is the Gouging Fire team that I used in Reg F, I believe. Where I brought it to Charlotte, top 32 to it there. I made a few tweaks to it after understanding what I lost to there, improving it. Got second in Knoxville. And in that finals, and I discussed this with you actually, was I got off the stage after losing a matchup that I had 2-0'd in Swiss, Toller reverse 2-0'd me, and I was just sitting there, I was so happy because I was like, I didn't think I was capable of this so quickly. And I learned so much from it. I was saying I was just happy to be on the stage there. I got to play some good Pokemon. Toller ended up winning his first regional championships in a very long time, and I know he really wanted that. And I was just seeing
really nice guy, Toller.
Incredible.
He was my winning in Milwaukee, and I've always seen him around, and he's always just gave me nothing but good vibes.
Yeah,
so
he's such a great player. He was actually one of my role models, like growing up. I loved his senior finals. He always tells me, he's like, I don't know why that one's your favorite. I'm like, it's so cool. I love watching it.
Yeah.
But I would say afterwards, I got off the stage, and I would say my friends came up to me and they were like, sorry, bro, I'm sorry that happens. And I was like, I'll get there next time.
Yeah.
I didn't expect next time to be so soon.
What happened?
I go to Vancouver 1 month later. It's the next regional in NA, and I end up winning that one.
Losses become wins. You don't win or lose, you win or learn.
Exactly.
That's literally what it is.
And the funny thing is, I didn't have any like real prep in between that regional and Vancouver. I would say literally most of my game knowledge was built off losing with that team there and understanding like, all right, well, this is what needs to change. And I made a few changes. I added Choice Specs to Fluttermane, Terrifier, Rillaboom. Those were not on my Knoxville version. And those changes ended up being pivotal during that regional run. They helped me so much. And like those changes ended up winning the tournament for me at the very end. And it was just one of those things where it felt like everything came full circle, even if I didn't have all the prep in the moment. And funnily enough, like I think it's very vital to mention that Vancouver was a last-minute trip. It was something that I was not planning to go to. It was something that I only went to because I didn't get into EYC that year.
Yeah.
So my biggest win of the season came from an event that I was not expecting to go to, a result that I was not expecting. I started that day 0-1. I was just like, today's not my day, guys.
And then you won the whole tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, today's not my day. And then X2, top cut, top 4, final win. And it was just one of those things that I was sitting there, I was like, it all happens
for
a reason.
Yeah,
like,
it's true. And like the thing that we keep saying is that it's a boring, boring quote unquote thing, and it's a hard truth to swallow. It's like I have to lose. So like that sucks. Like, I don't want to lose.
It's like a lame platitude, but it really, I would say, those fundamentals that I would say, I've always grown up playing Pokemon, obviously, no shocker. I started this game when I was 14. Now I'm 22.
Yeah.
But it's always been one of those things that it's like the core fundamentals of playing Pokemon, learning Pokemon, understanding Pokemon. Those are going to get you further than anything.
Yeah.
Just, I would say, because no matter what I do, I've always had these moments where I've either taken breaks out of frustration or I'm just tired or burned out. And I always am able to come back and just off those fundamentals alone, not even so much the game fundamentals, but the fundamentals of the mental, the fundamental.
The fun, you can't fundamental without fun. Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
But obviously those fundamentals have always stuck with me, and it's very hard to shake them once they're there. I would say you carry them for the rest of your life, even just throughout life in general. But being able to just be, I'll always be able to take these ideas that I've learned from prior formats, be able to get different perspectives from all my friends who've helped support me over the years, and regardless of whether I win or lose, I'm going to take away something from this next tournament, and I'm going to be able to contribute it to the next tournament after that one, if it, if the idea sticks around, which fortunately more often than not they do.
Yeah.
And I would say, no matter what, I'm usually not a player that expects to win something big, regardless of how many wins I have under my belt or how many good performances I have under my belt. But even this year, after I was telling people, I was like, this was my weakest season by far. I didn't get anything over top 8 before Worlds. I was saying that. Now I have a second in Worlds, and
might be your best season.
Yeah, it might be one of my best ever, and I was never expecting that. I was never expecting any of the things that happened this season, but they helped just make me a much stronger player and a much, I would say, and I can't stress this enough, I feel like a much happier person.
Hell yeah.
Just by being able to, I would say, sometimes you gotta be, you're like, oh my god, why does it have to be like this? And then my brain's just like, trust the process.
Yeah.
Let it roll, bro.
Trust the process. Trust the process.
But it is just one of those things that I would say across the years, I'm very grateful I've been able to learn.
Yeah, and I'm grateful just for so many things. Like even just meeting you and having this
it's
conversation.
an honor.
It's like, I think that there's so much for us to learn from so many different people from, again, as you said in Medium, different perspectives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You look and play the game completely different than I look at and play the game. We're at different stages of our journey. And, you were able to dominate on your global scale. I've been able to grow my way. And a lot of you watching at home, like, you are not as far away from your goals as you think you are, especially right now. You can do it! Right? And it's like, all it takes is to understand, like, again, like some of these concepts about, like, again, right now, if you're watching this, at home, this is easy to do right now. Find your core, think about your old inspiration, and use that to build your new Reg H team. Medium, meet people, right? Go to your local tournaments, go online. And as you said, find different perspectives. And then lastly, as exactly what James was saying,
you gotta lose to win.
You gotta lose to win. And guys, if you like this video, please like it, please subscribe. But more than anything, guys, if you want to know how to make Worlds, that you can compete with me and James, hopefully next year. Well, he's gonna be there no matter what. I'm hoping I can make it again. Comment on roadmap, and I'll send you this 11-page guide I made just for you. And if you want to watch a video where I break that entire guide down and you can actually follow along with me, then click this video here. And if you want to watch the video where I go over every single Pokemon strategy and how you can actually pick yours, like he picked his Sun team and I picked screens, click this video right here. All right, it's been me, it's been James.
It's been an honor to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Catch you guys later. Peace.